Please enjoy this ad-free episode as part of our Academic Integrity series sponsored by Pangram Labs, the world's leading AI detection tool. Try it out at pangram.com. That's PANGRAM.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and we are back on another awesome episode of our Academic Integrity series sponsored by Pangram Labs. And as always, I have with me the co-host who is the most. He is Bradley. He's the co-founder and CTO at Pangram Labs. Bradley, how you doing today?
Oh, we're so back, Elvin. We've got so many of these coming up. So excited.
Yeah. Tell us all about Pangram Labs real quick.
Oh, Pangram is the leading provider of AI detection software for schools and educators. We focus a lot on AI transparency rather than it being a punitive tool for AI detection. We really focus on trying to understand what are the things behind AI-generated text that educators can use just to inform their own conversations and have better academic integrity conversations with students, which is why we're doing this.
Awesome. Yes. So go to pangram.com to learn more if you're interested. Pangram.com to learn more. Okay. And you know how we work, Bradley. We go right into it. We have an amazing guest. He's actually coming back for his second time on EdUp, but specifically now for our Academic Integrity series. And he is Dr. Rick Pappas. He's the president at Davenport University. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be back.
Thanks for coming back. We appreciate you. So people who do not know, did not listen to the first episode, first question we're going to ask you is, please tell us all about Davenport. What do you do? How do you do it?
Well, you have such a wide range of listeners. I'm sure everybody heard that first time. But I'll tell you, we were, Davenport, some people may not know its name, but it was founded in 1866. And so it's been around a long time. So
a tumultuous time to get started, actually.
Right after the Civil War, right? And I wasn't there. I wasn't a student or anything. So, but I will tell you that I was hired. I'm in my 17th year, and when the board hired me, they said, "How do we improve student outcomes?" Davenport University has all the accreditations of everybody else, but we're quite different in a lot of ways. And I'll tell you that we follow Malcolm Baldrige National Standards of Quality. The hospitals use it. Businesses and higher education. And so we developed a balanced scorecard. We measure what's important to the university. And a lot of those are student outcomes. In 2020, we were the first university ever to win the Malcolm Baldrige State Quality Award in the history of Michigan. And so we've improved our graduation rate by 200% since then. We've increased our retention rate by 32%. And what's cool about it is we're measuring some of the things that everybody's required to measure, but some things that nobody else measures. We measure retention and graduation rate and student satisfaction and employee satisfaction and fundraising and bottom line and those kinds of things. But we also measure our students ready to work by the employer's point of view. And so we have a college of urban education. We have which I'll tell you about. It's one of our innovative programs. Only 6 years ago, we have a college of technology, a college of business, college of arts and sciences, and a college of health. And so, what's really great about all of our degrees lead to careers. So we have this guy who's the executive director of market intelligence. I try to put intelligence after the presidential title, but the board wouldn't have it. They're not connected, presidents and intelligence. But his only job is to find new jobs. What's coming down the line? So we developed a process where we can create a new degree in 60 days, and a degree. And so in the most recent example, we have 2 mental health degrees. One is a master's in nursing, nurse practitioner, psychiatric nursing. And then one is a master's in mental health. And the master's in mental health could be in any organization because mental health has really come to the front. It's always been there, but it's really been exposed after the pandemic, right? So what we do is we create, for example, in urban education, we created a program because we didn't think the way people prepare teachers made sense. They don't go until their senior year into the schools, and now you're a teacher, and a lot of theory. So we, for example, developed a bachelor's in STEM, urban ed, that the students will go into the schools as early as their freshman year. and get the culture and really learn about, and it's to get more students of color into teaching, if we could. Casa Latina is the first of its kind in the country, developed by our provost, who is from Puerto Rico originally, and Dr. Helly. And what this language is a big barrier often. It isn't that they don't speak English, but they're not as confident. So with this program, 1 week in Spanish, 1 week in English, 1 week, and all of the services that they get are bilingual. So you think if they want admissions in Spanish, or go to the website, or financial aid, they can have both English and financial aid. So one of our great goals is the talent gap, closing the talent gap. There's so many programs we've developed specifically because the talent gap needed. They couldn't find people. And so we have campuses throughout the state. We're the largest private not-for-profit in the state for the second year in a row, and we're growing. So our speed and our agility and our caring for students. I'll give you an example. One of the things that most employers say to me is, I expect content if you're in accounting, right? But what I really want is the soft skills or the power skills of critical thinking, problem solving, cultural competency, communication. And so we are embedding and measuring that in each class. So our goal is to put it on the transcripts by the time they graduate, so that they can, it gives them a differentiation.
I feel like that's like I had that on my report card in kindergarten. Like my mom was like, Bradley, like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're not talking enough in school. Like, where's your communication?
But
and,
it's
like, measuring this in 5-year-olds. Like, why are we not measuring this in 23-year-olds, right?
That's right. And then
just as important.
Things, Bradley, simple things like working in groups. When I worked in groups in college, one person did the work and the others were sort of sitting around. Here, you're going to be working in groups in every industry that you're going in, unless you're just doing research, right? And so, how do you work in groups becomes one of those critical factors. So, sort of summarizing, because there's so much I left out, but we'll get into at some point about the other questions you have. But it is a wonderful institution. It is we're NCAA Division II, and we have athletics and at our main campus. But as I said, we have campuses near Detroit and Lansing, Midland, and so forth. So we have a tremendous online program. Our online program is exhaustive. And we do corporate training so that we'll go into a company to get adult students easier for them to get a degree. We'll sign an agreement with them. Then we'll send all of our admissions, financial aid out to the company, and we'll even custom like an MBA. We'll do their philosophy of that company within our MBA. So it's not just an off-the-shelf kind of thing. So I'll stop there, because otherwise the whole show will be about this.
No, that's great. We always appreciate you giving that context. And so one thing that I'm very curious, we're asking everyone on this series, very curious, because you have 37 years as a college president, 17 of them. So I feel like you've seen it all, heard it all. Nothing can surprise you anymore. So very curious to hear, Rick, what's your definition of academic integrity?
So I get surprised all the time. I'm surprised by the external environment. I'll talk about later the future of education. But I look at academic integrity in a larger scope, not just are people cheating with AI and all that kind of stuff. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I look at it as, what do you tell a student? What do you promise a student? What should be their expectation when they come to Davenport? One, we have different kinds of students. We have students coming out of high school. We have transfer students from community colleges. We have adult students who have credits.
Online students, you mentioned, right?
Online
That's also
students,
pretty different. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have graduate students. And so all of them combined is that they should expect that they're studying in a field where there are careers available to them. And so we have a guarantee, for example, this is more of an accountability, not a marketing tool, is that if you come to us as a freshman or a transfer student and you sign an agreement with us that you're going to maintain at least a 3.0 and that you're going to follow what career services says, and you get lifetime career services when you graduate with us, that will guarantee you that you'll have a job in your field within 6 months of graduation. Right now, 50% of our degrees are under that guarantee. And by Vision 2030, which I'll talk about later, it'll be up to 75% of our degrees. So, and if for some reason you didn't or couldn't, and you had signed this agreement, you would get the equivalent of up to a master's degree for free. And we've never had anybody take us up on that. So academic integrity really has more to do with, did you learn the content? Did you learn those soft skills? Are you capable of, are you ready to work when you get to that job? And, whether you're a nurse or a cybersecurity professional, whatever it is. And that's what I consider academic integrity. The cheating thing on AI that a lot of people talk about, we've looked at it. But we're embracing AI. This is the coolest thing because it's going to change, and we put this in Vision 2030, how we learn, and it's going to change how we teach. And it's a skill that's going to be required in the workplace. The most important thing is if you go into a workplace and you don't understand, and there's an intuitive, isn't there, with AI? I use ChatGPT, and I hate that it's so much smarter than I am. I hate it, but what's really cool about it is it's going to still take human-centered leadership. It's going to take me or someone else to drive. It's not just that it gets rid of the daily, inputting, which I think is great that it will do that, but it's going to force us to think more creatively. Okay, where am I driving this? I can get all this data all at once, but what am I going to do with it? Where does it take me? What's my goal, and so we hope that will affect. And see, some people are coming out with a degree in AI, and we may at some point, but I think it should be integrated into all programs. This is not this is as big as when the internet came. Remember, you guys are too young for the internet, but when it first came, but it was like, this wild, and it changed and transformed America, didn't it? The world. And AI in the same way. And AI is moving so quickly. I think we have to have students who will be able to adapt to that fast technology change. So
absolutely.
That's my definition of academic.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love that you talk about embracing AI because I think this is, trend across the industry, and I think it's something that's going to be absolutely necessary. I think so one thing that we've talked about in the past is when it comes to embracing AI, there's also a set of skills that maybe actually no longer relevant for success in the workforce. Just the other day we were talking about APA citations versus MLA citations. It's okay, nobody cares about that anymore because you can just pop.
There are still people who care about it, but I'm with you. But
people care that you cite your sources, but they don't care about the particular formatting because that's something that we automated away, right?
No, I think you're going to see. You're so right. I think you're going to see different kinds of skills that become necessary, right? And that there's some skills. It isn't like people are going to lose all their jobs. Because we're pretty thinly.
No, of course not.
But I think they're going to have to adapt and change to different kinds of skills. And I, if I was starting my career now, I'd really be digging into the utilization of AI. But it's coming so fast that what we have to do is just have common sense. Okay, let's use this. But what kinds of skills do they need? It's almost like math. If you're in math, what getting you to the next step, or solving, or a doctor who is diagnosing a patient, what steps does that person go through? And here, you're gonna have to do some of the similar kinds of thought processes, right? So.
Oh, absolutely. And one of my favorite books is The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. Because I think from a macro lens, all technological change and kind of all of these paradigm shifts, this is not the first time this has happened. Love that you brought up the internet because that was a paradigm shift that happened quite recently.
Yes.
But, also in terms of kind of the hand wringing about jobs, industrial revolution comes along, actually
Oh, true.
no longer people actually have to do farming, subsistence farming on a day-to-day basis. And that's a great thing for society. And that is, job loss in a way, right?
It was job loss. But when you think about what you just said about the Industrial Revolution, all those people that were no longer, when they automated the lines, right? And that started with Ford. And so you're right. There are dramatic changes. So it's like in life. I always told my kids, and I told the students here, is that it's not a question of whether you're going to get obstacles. It's a question of how you're going to deal with those obstacles, right? And so how are we going to take this new change and embrace it. And at Davenport, our faculty and staff are phenomenal. I mean, do you know that when we had the pandemic that we got to fully online in 2 days, and they took care of these. I mean, it was impressive. It was impressive. And so you're right. So the institution that just jumps and says, here's what we're doing, may not be the right direction. So we're not going slow, but we're really thoughtful about how what is this going to mean? How will this change how we hire employees? What kind of skills will they be required to have, and or that could be developed within our current organization? So
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously, like, when it comes to like, embracing AI, what that doesn't mean is that you're just gonna like buy a ChatGPT Pro subscription for every student and like let them use it like whenever they want, right?
exactly.
So kind of like what does the actual rollout look like in practice of like what it means to embrace AI in your perspective?
Well, I think it's understanding that it's here and it's going to get stronger, and how are people learning AI? What kind of skills are they going to require? We have stuff that helps faculty, and they've had a lot of discussions with our provost about cheating and so forth. But I think students who are creative, who want to use AI, are going to find good ways to use it. And our challenge is, how do we challenge them in using it for skill development in their fields? So we're going to be developing a process of implementation. So July 1st started Vision 2030. And so we have 5-year components. And, we created in Vision 2025, we created the College of Urban Ed. We created the Casa Latina. And so we're looking at what kind of programs are going to really be needed and used by industry, by healthcare. And they're using it now. But one of the things I like to see us do is, as we learn more about it, is lead the change. So helping companies and healthcare say, here's a technique that will get your nurses to be able to whatever it is you're trying to do. So we're rolling it out. July 1st was just a couple of weeks ago. And so we've got teams working on this right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, I think you were talking a little bit in your intro about like, how you have people that actually like go find new jobs and like
They
kind of
do.
like new things. So like kind of like what are some of like new jobs that you guys see as coming in that Vision 2030 project?
Well, there's a lot of things, surprisingly, on human-centered development. The ability, one of the great skills I've always found, this I think may be consistent throughout time, is the ability to work with others. Is a skill that will get you great success in your.
Well, and now AI is one of those others, right?
I know. I mean, if I need a friend, I'm going to AI, and they'll develop a whole person for me, right? But I really do think that we don't have all the answers yet, and I think that as we develop this, though, we're going to move, throughout the whole university to create this kind of change. We may start with a particular program and test it and prototype it. And then, but I firmly believe it's going to change higher education. It's going to change the world, but it's going to change specifically higher education in terms of how we operate and the kinds of programs that we're going to have. I can't list you. I have in the vision, like, I don't know, 12 to 15 potential jobs that could come. But the truth is, we'll find that out as we move deeper into it, because we're assessing our corporate partners. What do you need? What are you seeing? What kind of skills does a nurse need 5 years from now that versus what he or she is doing today? That's pretty exciting. And as we develop the curriculum, AI will be involved with all of it. So it's not a one-off, like this is a theme of the day. This is a long-term, maybe permanent. In other words, it'll have variations in the future that we can't anticipate yet. But if they get the one for lifelong learning, where I'm actually can live forever, I may take that one. So
that would take a you never know where AI
that would be scary,
right?
wouldn't it? Actually,
the AI doctor gets too good, we all become immortal, right?
Hey, listen, I'm open.
Yeah, so I guess like so you kind of see it as more like, we have this kind of existing set of jobs and like, the employers that you're talking to, they're talking about like how just the different jobs are changing, right? And like how, being a nurse in 2030 is going to look very different than being a nurse in 2025, for example. But do you think this is going to also open up just some like new kinds of jobs entirely, like, in within AI?
I do. I think that there might be specialties in AI that you can lead in a certain way that we may have a variation. But I'm different than some people, and I think that every employee, every student needs to develop their skills in AI. I don't think we're going to have a specialist. Like often,
Yeah, and like what would those skills look like? Because I mean, like, students are already using AI pretty prolifically, right? So,
but they're using it to like mostly to get this voluminous data or to write a paper or to write. And I think there has to be stronger intellectual skills. It might be analytical skills, more analytical skills to be able to drive it a certain way so that you can get data that can enhance your decision making, right? And so the kind of skills might be more human centered and might be more because there's going to be technical skills that will be coming our way, but I'll answer this in about 6 months. Bring me back and we'll see what kind of skills.
All right.
But I will tell you that the integrity of, nobody wants students cheating and so forth. And so we're doing some preventative stuff there, but we are taking a bigger look, a bigger view of this is a really cool technology that can really enhance our students' experience, communicate better with them, but they'll also be able to have some visualization. I see some things like, doing some scientific experiments that you could never do, without fear of, things being blown up at other universities, and being able to do it with AI and see the immediate results of impact. And also for medicine, oh my gosh, the potential for solving, getting solutions to diseases and all of those kinds of things. This will allow researchers to do a much better job.
Oh, definitely. I love that angle. And actually, it's been something I've been looking into quite a lot lately, just like how much like more research and scientific discovery that we can do with AI in areas that were previously considered very unsafe. And also just practical co-curricular training too. Like, I mean, I think like, like if I'm a therapist, right, and I'm on like, month 3 of my therapy program, like any program worth their salt is not going to go let me like actually talk to a patient, like, and like try and solve their mental health issues with like a couple of weeks of training, right? But with like an AI, like, I mean, I think like you can effectively practice therapy in a really safe environment.
I love that. We do that with, we have in nursing, of course, they're working on, I just
Oh yeah, nursing is a great application of this.
Right. And so you can actually, I don't want somebody even taking my blood if they're not prepared, so, but I do think that.
But they have to practice, right? Like, how do you get something? You have to practice.
That's right. That's right. And I think what your point about mental health is that you'd learn a lot. And I think with AI, they could direct you into so that you could diagnose in a much easier way and thus develop a pattern of health. So yes, I don't think there's an occupation around, and the future occupations, whatever they may be, where this won't be an asset. There'll be negatives to it. I mean, there'll be people who already have taken advantage of people utilizing AI, but so we do need some regulation on it. But I do think that its unlimited potential is exciting, and it should be exciting in higher education as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think like kind of like one thing that like everyone's grappling with right now is like, okay, like, so I'm going to have like, my AI be like this collaborative learning partner for myself. And I think that has like massive potential. But it's also just like, okay, how do I make sure that like, when I'm using AI as that collaborative learning partner, it's not just like giving me the answer outright, and it's not just like doing the cognitive load for me. Like, how do we make sure that like students are still like engaging cognitively with the AI and not just using the AI to just like skip around the intended learning objective?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. So our Dean of Online Education, Dr. Brian Miller, he's been working with faculty, and they've come up with some good ideas of how to do just what you're saying. How do I engage you with AI? How do the assignments that I give you allow you to not just get the information, but to maneuver to the solution utilizing an advanced tool like that. And so, yeah, I think that's really exciting. I think faculty will embrace it. There's a worry nationwide that someday there won't be any faculty. There'll be just these robots. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see.
I don't buy that. Yeah,
because you're still going to need this human connection. And at the University of Michigan, I had when I was going to get my doctorate, I remember there's this one professor who encouraged me. He said, "I think you could be a university president someday." What? And I thought that motivated. I still remember it, right? And so as we're working with students, and that they can do this, AI is sort of this, overwhelming. It's so big. And so what do we do? How am I going to handle this? And I think if we simplify it to the point of where it's helping you learn and learn your field and then apply it, being able to apply it, because now you're going to get all this information, but what do you do with it, right? And where do you direct it so that it answers the question you're looking for?
Yeah, definitely. Another question I had for you is kind of like, we were talking about like, you kind of have this guarantee that like, you have a 3.0, you're going to get a job in your field, right?
Well, you have to follow all the things that Career Services tells you to do. A lot of students don't fill out they don't write this letter of intent. They don't do the basic stuff.
Well, my mind immediately goes, they're writing the letter of intent with ChatGPT.
Well, they could be. But see, I will tell you, that's where intuitiveness comes in. I use ChatGPT to do something like that on my own. And it was good, but it didn't have me. It didn't have my personality.
Yeah, it's soulless.
Yeah. Well, but it gave some ideas of what to incorporate. But when you're looking for a person to hire them, you want their personality to come out. And not just in the interview, but because some of these people may not get to an interview. So you want a directedness of what you've done and so forth. So I think it's a big asset, but I think you still have to have that. You're the driver. You're the person who really makes the final call.
Yeah, and on the other side, like being a hiring manager for Pangram, like I had this realization, like, when we were like hiring for our last role, I was like, like, why do all of these like cover letters and emails for this job application, they're all exactly the same? Like I was like, oh my God. Like,
did they not know that? Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that they're like AI that's necessarily inherently bad. It's just like it doesn't help you stand out. Like it's like basically just like you might as well have just sent me nothing.
And your point about standing out is exactly right. So what about that job? Is this a job of a lifetime for me? Is this something that I've always wanted to do? What about this job am I excited about? Because if you don't show that, you won't get the interview. And this is the kind of stuff for that guarantee that our career services really works on, is that it's, be who you are. These soft skill measurements, once we get those to transcript, that's a differentiator for them, because there's nobody else doing that in the country. Nobody. They talk about the soft skills, but they're not actually measuring them in the classroom and then eventually putting them on the transcripts. And this is what this is what academic integrity is to me. Do they really understand the content? Do they really, are they ready to work? And are they excited about, those things come across when you hire. When you hire a Davenport grad, you'll see the difference.
Yeah. And I love that because, I think we're talking about, what are the human-centered skills that are relevant in the age of AI?
Exactly
and it's
right.
In a way, it's kind of just like these skills that showcase, who we are as people. How do I convince somebody that, I'm a real person with a unique perspective and, thoughts that I can, bring to this thing? Because if I didn't care about the thoughts being unique or, innovative or anything like that, I would just ask ChatGPT.
Right.
I heard this quote yesterday that was, so great. I was like, ChatGPT has raised the bar for mediocrity, but there's still a premium on excellence. And I think that's absolutely true.
That's true.
It's if I just wanted something mediocre, I can just go to ChatGPT and it'll spit out a mediocre cover letter or a mediocre research report or mediocre piece of creative writing or whatever.
Right.
But I think it's people that want to be great at something, there's always going to be, that.
That's right. And that could be an asset, what you got out of ChatGPT. And you can incorporate.
Yeah, sometimes mediocrity is good enough.
Well, it's not that it's mediocre. It's that you made it excellent. Because now
that too.
you're taking some of their stuff, but you're you're developing it on yourself. And this is going to be a message that has to be given to the students, that you're not surprising someone. You're not learning it. And if you know, in the long run, when you get to college, if you're not learning the subject really, it's going to be really difficult for you later on.
Right. Like I do feel that like a lot of students, like, I talk to a lot of students and like, one of the feelings is just like, oh, well, like, ChatGPT could just be like so much like better than me at writing an essay. Like, why would I even try? Like, there's almost this kind of like learned helplessness and like feeling that like AI is just going to be better than them at everything.
Right.
But I think like, we need to kind of convince students that like, okay, like you have this like unique perspective and you have this power and this unique humanity that like ChatGPT is not going to replace. And I think like convincing students that they have this power and empowering these students to feel like, okay, like I have something unique to bring to the table alongside ChatGPT.
That's right.
I
And
think that's like
that's the key.
what creates buy-in.
I think that's really important what you're saying. And I think that, and sometimes it's not just that they don't think they can do it, it's a time element for them. Adults who have family and they're taking courses. But the key is everybody's got this individual, they just have to find what they want to do. It's not which is the highest paying job, because you'll do that for a few years, but you got to love what you do. And this is a key to success, is that finding out. So somebody, we require internships for all of our students. And even if you're working, you could do an internship in your company, a different one. And we had this one student whose family had an accounting firm, and they had grown up in this, and they were going to be an accountant. Taking the course, they did really well academically. And then they went on an internship. They hated it. and I said, well, you're not
That's why you do the internship, right? to figure it out.
That's exactly right. And it's the same thing with using your personality with good data. So, people have had had things before, when I got my doctorate, I was in the library a lot, So, there's no such thing as a card catalog. It's really funny is how antiquated some of the things that I went through, but I learned how to learn, and we have to keep that process going. And now we're just learning with a different tool. And that's what AI is to me. It's a different tool. It's a huge tool. But how do we use it to the advantage of a student learning better, of a faculty member teaching better, because they'll have more stuff to work with? And then how do they become better employees, that they're already ready? They know how to work. They know the subject matter. They know AI, and they can apply it in a different way to being a better nurse, a better occupational therapist, whatever it is. And I think those things are in the future, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I feel like all the smartest people I know are just like, okay, like, wow, like AI is so great, like, because it allows me to just learn everything that I want to learn, like, even faster and like even more effectively.
Yes.
And I think, I think we largely just have kind of this cultural problem of like, getting students and faculty to like both like buy into that.
That's right.
As opposed to like kind of pushing it away.
Yeah, and I think it's how we approach it. We're approaching it here in a positive way. Help us in your particular program. How would you approach AI, not just protecting the cheating, but really how would you incorporate it into your program, right? And then what results? And then we like to measure everything we do. So how would we? Is it making an impact on student learning? Is it So it's so new that it's not new, but it's new to the implementation of it. So those who say, hey, we got AI already covered, we got a degree over here and we got a certification over here, and that's all good, but that really isn't where I think we should be going. We should be going, like I said, integrating it into everything we do.
Well, and I think to like, address the cheating point head on, like, I think it's just like, cheating is often just a symptom of like students that don't necessarily like buy into what they're learning. They're just like,
Right.
Looking for some way of like short circuiting their learning because they don't believe that it's valuable to them or something
Right.
like that. And so I think like, getting students on board and, giving them these programs where like they can actually see themselves and envision themselves like being successful. And also like, getting faculty on board with this and like, getting faculty to like, motivate these students. Like, I think like all of these things go hand in hand when we're thinking about academic integrity. And it's like, all of these things together like are preventative measures against cheating. You know,
But the cheating is one component, but it really isn't the component that I mean, our faculty and our provosts and our deans are certainly talking to each other about it, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's a very real problem. Yeah, of
But
course.
I think what this is shifting the attention to the positive stuff about how can we incorporate AI into the programs, and how would we teach differently with it? You know, I taught marketing when I was, and how would I teach? You know, so I think about that. I taught sales, and I taught, you know, so I think I would have a lot of fun with sales. I think utilizing AI. I mean, because you know, I always said there was only 5 basic objections to a sale, and I used to have students go through it, and I'd videotape them selling. Well, what would I do now if I taught sales? I would use AI in a more spectacular way, and they could verbally. I mean, it would just be quite. It would enhance the program.
Yeah. I mean, I think like AI just like, you know, in my company, like it just enables everybody to do their job like, you know, 50% more effectively.
Yeah.
But of course, like, you know, the reason that we still hire people is because we believe they bring unique skill sets to the table that AI cannot replace. So, you know, if we could just have a company that was just run by AI bots, like I would do that, obviously.
Oh, but would I qualify to work at your place?
Oh, I'm sure.
I said, no, I'm sorry, you don't meet the
I'd be
qualification.
like, no, the ChatGPT's got everything you got to offer, Rick. Sorry.
That's right. I sent you a form letter. So no, it's good.
All right. Any other questions, Bradley?
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. Great conversation, Rick. This is the last question, which we're asking everyone. So
Okay.
it's interesting to get everyone's perspective. Rick, tell us, what do you see as the future of academic integrity?
Well, I think it's going to be challenged more. I think it's going to really, depending upon how artificial intelligence grows and changes, we need to be able to maintain our own. You know, there's this. For some reason, there's a lot of people who believe, for example, that they can do better without a college education, and the data still shows dramatically the higher degree, a bachelor's, you're going to make more than an associate or no degree. A master's, you're going to make more, depending upon the field. And I think we have to be more directed on that, because you know data shows this, but people are just saying things that aren't true, regardless. And so I think there are going to be more challenges. You know, just think about the environmental stuff going on now, not just the pandemic or the threat of taking away Pell Grants from part-time students just recently. That would be devastating for Americans, because the truth is there are many part-time students who that's how they're going to get ahead, and they move forward. And so, but I think it's a bright future, because I think if we remain flexible and we remain forward thinking with what new, you know, like the questions I was asked about what new degrees, what new programs, maybe they won't be degrees. You know, we have stackables so that you can take a non-credit training, and let's say in accounting and some kind of form of that. You can use that towards your degree. We have prior learning experience that we're really good at, and that so they don't have to repeat. When a community college graduate transfers to us, you know, often they don't get full credits for that. We accept the full degree. In fact, we accept the full degree of somebody who was a welder, a welding degree. And the reason for that is, and we created a bachelor's degree of applied business, so that because you're not going to weld your whole life, right? We don't have welding here, but the community colleges do. But that's a hard field that's needed. So what if they want to start their own business, or what if they want to go into another field? They can get a bachelor's degree and then get an MBA from there. So we have to be really concerned with, are we treating students? Are we allowing them? Are we taking barriers away? There's some institutions where you say, look to your left, look to your right. 2 of the 3 are not going to be there. We're saying, look to your left, look to your right. You all should be here. If you're willing to work hard, we're willing to work with you. You know, our advisors are fantastic. They'll work with each person. I'm very disappointed when I see people who drop out, and not because there aren't good reasons. There could be, you know, all kinds of good reasons, but I want them to I always tell freshmen, shake my hand, and that's what I want you to do 4 years from now when you graduate. And because I want you to envision this. And so our ability to be on top of it, our ability to be on knowing where education is going, how can we help prepare them for a workforce of the future? And that's really what I think all of higher education has to do. There's different types of missions. The big public universities have different, they do research and all of those kinds of things and trying to solve diseases. Oh, that's so cool. Community colleges are a primary access for so many students. And Davenport, I think, is unique in itself because we're agile and quick, and we're on top of, we know the market better than anybody else. So I think we have to maintain that for the future. But higher education is not going away. Higher education, but it'll change. And if it doesn't change, you think about a semester that started in the 1600s. I mean, come on, maybe we should be a little quicker than that. But we have made major adjustments, and affordability is in our Vision 2030. We're now developing 3-year degrees. We're doing things not just because to do them, but there's a purpose. Adults are working so hard. How can they get some certification or degree so that they can have the quality of life that they want? So that's what I see as the future of education. But there's a tax on higher education, clearly, from a lot of corners, and some of it I don't understand. Some of it may be real. Maybe there's always room for us to improve.
Yeah, it's an ongoing challenge of just student needs to when they're thinking about whether to go to college, they need to just be seeing themselves coming out the door 4 years later and, being successful and having achieved their objectives. And so I think all of the programs that you've got, to really kind of drive that point home, I think that's fantastic. And I definitely see other universities and colleges trying to following along here.
So you're calling us the leader in the country. Is that what I heard you say, Bradley?
I think that's what I said, open to interpretation.
No. No, I think, like I said, there's already great institutions in every sector. But so we just have to make sure that the academic integrity is doing what we tell our students we want to do, so that they can graduate. And it's like this, the American dream, right? Is that you can come here and you can all of a sudden become a nurse or become a cyber professional or become, occupational therapist or whatever it is that you want to be. If you work hard and you stay to it, and then all of a sudden now you're this. It's really one of the last vestiges. Not too many people are going to become professional athletes. Not too many people are going to become, in the entertainment business. So this is, in my opinion, is the best way to make change in your life.
Well said. Amazing conversation. Fantastic insights. So first time I'm going to outro my co-host, who is the most. He is Bradley Emmy. He's the CTO and co-founder at Pangram Labs. Bradley, thank you as always, sir.
Oh, this was a fun one. Thanks so much for having me, Alvin.
Absolutely. You got it. And of course, he is your guest today, ladies and gentlemen. He is Dr. Rick Pappas. He is the president at Davenport University. Rick, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate very much. Thanks to both of you. That was great. It was. I learned things from you too, so that was fantastic.
Shit, that's fantastic.
We're all still learning.
All from Bradley, because
that's why we do this.
Exactly. All right, ladies and gentlemen. With that, you've just EdUp'd.
Thank you for listening. This episode is part of our Academic Integrity series sponsored by Pangram Labs, the world's leading AI detection technology. Try it out at pangram.com. That's PANGRAM.com.